Hey everyone, what's up? And this is going to be the third scenario in the Joan of Arc campaign in Age of Empires 2, and I'm going to be showing you guys just a walkthrough for it. First of all, I do want to apologize. This video is going to be very chopped up, and I'm not going to be showing most of the game. That's because the game took about an hour and a half to complete, so I had to cut out most of it. But I tried to show some of the more important parts, especially with just building my economy. So, at the first start, where I decided to build my town center, because you don't start with one, is the very kind of southern part of the map. As soon as you cross the river with your transports, just head all your troops south, and there's a nice little open area. The reason why I chose this spot is for a couple reasons. It has a very large gold patch, it has some stone, there's a lot of sheep in this area, there's a lot of wood, and it's actually quite easy to wall as well, which comes into play later in the game. So, first off, you can't make any villagers until you start making some houses, because you don't start with any buildings, which is a bit frustrating. So I had to set down a few houses there. You can actually set your houses as kind of a wall around your base. You won't be harassed too much near the start of the game, and every time you are harassed by either Burgundy or the British, you can just fight them off with your initial forces near the start of the game, because you do start with some crossbowmen and a few knights, and I believe a few pikemen as well, and that's enough to deal with any early raids from the British. Anyways, I started building up some farms here because it's important to get enough food to go to the Castle Age, and I skipped way ahead later. There's actually 2 Burgundian watchtowers around your base, and you can just destroy them with your knights, because they can't hit you at your base while you're standing right there. You know, basically if the knights are attacking the tower directly, the tower can't attack them back, so it's safe to just use your initial knights. I think you start with 4, yeah, and just take out the 2 towers around your base, and that just serves as a way to keep the Burgundians out of your territory. So later I am in the Castle Age, and I'm starting to mine stone because I want to build a castle as soon as possible. Since you are playing as the Franks in this scenario, castles are only 488 stone instead of the traditional 650, and I also started building walls around my base, and later on I upgraded them to fortified wall, because it just helps later on when you get attacked by the orange player, which is Fastolf's army, because he will bring a lot of rams. So building the walls will just give you a bit of more of a delay for him to get into your base. And I researched light cavalry just in case later on I ran out of gold or something and couldn't make any more knights. The basic scenario is you have to destroy 3 castles, and my plan of attack was to make a ton of knights and battering rams would destroy the castles, and the knights would destroy everything else. Kind of like I've been doing with all the scenarios in this campaign, and probably will for the rest of the campaign. So that's just my basic plan of attack. Here you see me queuing up my army, which I'm going to use to attack the initial British castle. There's 5 British castles on the map, but you only have to destroy 2 of them. There's 3 little castles that are isolated by themselves, and there's a pair of British castles to the far north of the map, but I decided not to mess with those because they're a bit more heavily fortified. Anyway, I will attack the castle that's kind of near the middle of the map first, which is going to happen pretty soon. So here I'm just finishing my wall off. There's actually some shallows there that I completely forgot to wall, and I get attacked later, and I correct my mistake and choose to wall those in the end, so it's okay. And I built some barracks because later in the scenario you do get attacked by a large amount of knights, and I figured if the force was too large, then I could just create some pikemen quickly. And that's what I do later, but it turns out they're not really needed, because by that time I had so many knights that I could just kill the enemy knights with my own knights. And here I'm finally launching my attack. I basically use the crossbowmen that you start out with, and I garrison them inside the rams, and that just makes the rams a little bit faster, and I believe it gives them a little more attack power as well. So I just start off with a force. I believe I had around 20 knights, something like that, and a fair amount of rams. And you just ram down the towers, ram down the gate. This British castle in the middle will create long swordsmen, so be aware of that, because if you're not paying attention, they can cut down your rams pretty fast. But as long as you keep knights around, they will mop up the long swordsmen. You won't have too much to worry about. Each of the British castles creates something different. This one creates long swordsmen. The one farther to the southeast, technically it had a siege workshop inside its base, but I never saw it create any siege weapons, but it probably would do if you played on a higher difficulty. And then the British castle, the isolated British castle to the northwest, not the pair of them, but the isolated one, that will create knights, and that will come into play later. So anyway, my first British castle is down. I did not lose any rams, but it turns out after you destroy your first British castle, Fastolf will attack you, which is the orange player. He will make a ton of knights as well as a few rams, not too many, but he will send a few rams after you as well. And for whatever reason, he chose to come to the British castle first instead of my base, and he destroyed my rams, which I did not show, but you might want to protect them a little bit better than I did. So this is me dealing with Fastolf's force later. It wasn't too difficult. He did send 2 more forces of knights at me, which I'm not going to show me killing, but pretty much my castle just dealt with them most of the way. He does have a couple cavaliers. I'm pretty sure he just starts with those at the beginning of the game because he wasn't in the Imperial Age at this point. He does advance to the Imperial Age later on. And this is, I believe, a few more of Fastolf's knights, or the British, something like that. And I'm attacking my second British castle here. This is the one with the siege workshop, which I did not see any siege weapons from. So I just rushed my knights in there and picked off the few longbowmen. All the castles will create longbowmen, which aren't that annoying. And then just had all my rams just go on the castle, and they rammed the castle down pretty quickly. Wasn't too much to worry about, and I got my knights out of there because the castle cannot fire at its base. For whatever reason, the British do not want to research the technology in the university that allows you to do that. So my rams were just able to deal with it without getting damaged at all, and I did keep these rams alive. Rams are pretty expensive in the wood department, so you might not want to lose too many, unless you just have gobs of wood like I did. I have way too much wood to even imagine what to do with it. Actually, I sold off a lot of the food that I had later. And here's Fastolf himself. There actually is a unit for him. He's just like a paladin sort of guy. He's not too difficult, though. The castle fire took him down most of the way, and then I just killed him off with a few knights. And here is the last British castle that I'm attacking. This one will create knights, which is the most deadly castle for your rams, at least, because those knights can kill your rams pretty fast. And I did lose a couple rams. That's okay, because I had created more at this point, and I just had everything go in the base and get on the castle. And in due time, the castle was destroyed, and the scenario was over, and I was the victor. So, thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe, and stay tuned if you enjoy these videos, because more will be coming, and I also have lots of fun stuff. So, anyway, that is all, and farewell.